everybody, Randy Patterson here with Boomerosity. And if you're a baby boomer and we're into rock and roll at all, I guarantee you that a big chunk of the soundtrack of your youth involved a lot of Styx music. And as you can tell behind me, I'm going to be talking to somebody from Styx, and you're absolutely right. It is my second time, although it's been a few years since I last spoke with him, but it's my second time with talking with Styx keyboardist Lawrence Gowan. Caught him while he was outside of Seattle on tour with the band, and we were talking about the tour, what all's going on, how the music's going, how their last album is going, and how there is a new album about to drop, and we talk about that. Couldn't go into too much on it, but we did talk about it. So I think you guys are going to love this chat. It's always great to talk with a classic rocker. So while you're listening to it, please hit like, please hit subscribe, and share it with your friends. If you hit like and subscribe, you already know it's not going to cost you anything. And certainly sharing this interview with your friends won't either, but it helps us out a lot. So without any further ado, here is my second interview with Styx keyboardist Lawrence Gowan. Until next time, this is Randy Patterson with Boomerosity. Take care.
Okay. Hi, Randy.
Hello, Lawrence. How you doing?
Doing sweet. How are you doing?
Fantastic. Where are you clicking in from?
We are in, we're right by Seattle today. We are, yeah, it's beautiful here.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
Lots of mountains and stuff like that. Yeah, I love
Very cool.
The Pacific Northwest is just beautiful.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've been up there. So
yeah, it's absolutely great. Yeah. So, and where are you? Oh, you're in Knoxville.
I am in the Smoky Mountains, actually. I'm a little east of Knoxville. And you guys will be out here later this year, I believe, if I read the itinerary, right?
Yeah, we will.
I'll have to swing by and catch your show.
Please do. I love your background wall there is really spectacular.
Well, normally I make my own, but I saw this on a vinyl record group that I belong to on Facebook, and the gentleman who put it together is a gentleman by the name of John Gamolka, who I just connected with him this week. And if you take about a quarter of the page, that's what he had, and then I multiplied it. So a lot. Very nice background. And you can't tell. Let me see if I can move my head. There's the question mark coming up for the new album coming up. We'll talk about that in a moment. So, so anyway, my thanks to John. He's down outside of Houston, Texas, from what I can tell. But so you guys are on tour. You guys think this rock and roll thing is going to work out for y'all?
If it doesn't work out, I'm going to borrow a line from an old friend of mine. If it doesn't work out in the next 25 years, we're thinking of packing it in. Yeah, it's actually what's been astounding, Randy, is the response from people has been like overwhelming. Even this week alone, we've done 8 shows in the last 10 days, and just to see it night after night is quite phenomenal. But it's great that people have had this music in their lives now, some of them for over half a century. So it's quite amazing to they're really embracing a whole lot of time there, half a century's worth of being devoted to a band. And then there are the people who are like, the newer faithful who are like under 40. I use that as my arbitrary number. And they have just gravitated toward classic rock with all of the fervor and enthusiasm that we did growing up with it. So we see that on a nightly basis, and there's something definitely to be extremely grateful for every day that we see that.
What do you think it is about, well, obviously Styx's music, but a lot of your musical peers out there from the 60s, 70s and such, and the music still stands? I mean, I dare say another 50 years from now, this stuff's still going to be clicking along, and our descendants are going to still be rocking it out to all these great tunes. What is it about it that you think gives it that kind of staying power, those kind of legs?
Okay, so first of all, I would say that classic rock is the great musical statement of the last half of the 20th century. And I'd say that the first half of the 20th century was dominated by the by jazz and what jazz did to music. I mean, there are all kinds of permutations of that, starting from, boogie woogie piano and ragtime and into the jazz era that began the idea of just pure improvisation. And and then that led to swing and all kinds of big band music, et cetera, et cetera. And that really defines the first half of the century. The moment electricity was introduced to music, um, very shortly thereafter, rock music came into being. And
Yep.
the weird thing is that it is the great musical statement of the last half of the 20th century. And we were misguided or we were held to a false belief that the music was extremely transient and that it would just be, it would only last, the shelf life would expire whenever a new album would come out. Your previous album was your
Yep.
old stuff, right? So, um, what I think has made it last so much is, first of all, um, I still think that once melodies are released onto the planet, once a memorable melody is out there, it's not going to go away. As many people begin to sing it, it becomes like a language that
Hmm.
bonds people together, or people have a very personal relationship with. And those melodies don't leave you. Once they're ingrained in your mind and in your spirit, they're there for good. Now, if you couple that with lyrics where you can actually put yourself into the narrative of a piece of music, I think that doubles down on the effect. Uh, and I think that's probably the main reason. That, and plus, there's probably all kinds of demographic reasons as well with population and exposure to the music as well. I mean, it was widely exposed around the world. So people, and especially now, even with the internet, if anybody hears the words Led Zeppelin, they can quickly access a piece of Led Zeppelin music and go, oh wow, that's what that is. Or if they hear of Queen, they'll put Queen in there, and
Hmm.
um, probably they'll see, Her Majesty Queen of England first, but then right after that it'll be Freddie. Will be Freddie and Brian and Roger and John Deacon John.
Hmm.
So
Deacon John.
because of that, I think that the accessibility and the melodic content, because like last night, I mean, just a few hours ago, I'm looking at people that are, you know, some of them less than half my age, and they are singing every word to the songs and getting into it as if the records are brand new.
Hmm. Hmm.
There you have it.
Yeah.
That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it.
Mhm. Well, I was going to ask you about the demographic of the crowds. Last night, I was over in, I think you guys have played there before, in Cherokee, South or North Carolina, at Harrah's
Yes.
Casino and Resort,
Yep.
3,000 seat auditorium. I
Yeah.
was there to see Joe Bonamassa. It's my eighth or ninth time seeing him. And
Yeah.
I made a point to scan out the crowd. And
Yeah.
this particular time, I I could almost make the point that I might have been among the youngest there, and I'm 65 years old.
Right.
So, I was a little surprised. Joe's 47. I'm
Yeah.
thinking, okay, it's going to be right in that midpoint, but it was a older crowd.
Okay.
And that I think that's the first time I've noticed that in there. But I notice in classic rock crowds, there seems to be a nice, maybe a 55 to 60, 40 split between our age group and younger ones. What are you seeing in your crowds?
I would agree with you exactly. Some nights it's 50-50. Most nights I'd say it's 55-45 is a pretty good percentage wise. So I'd say 55% are people that have been with it right from the beginning, and about 45% on average, just as I'm looking out at the crowd, just either that, or, I do make the point, it's either that or they've had some amazing work done.
Could be a little
So
bit of that. So,
yeah, there's a bit of that. Yeah, I'm more suspect when we're playing in, around the Los Angeles area, for example. So,
The other
but
Silicon Valley there. So
yeah, yeah. But generally speaking, yeah, my eyes are still good enough to recognize when someone's of a younger demographic, if we want to call them that. I'm getting tired of that word. Just younger people that have found this music and embrace it, you know. And it could be that they may have found current music that they also feel really strongly about, but quite often it's so influenced by where classic rock took music that they feel a kinship between a bond between the two.
I don't know. I should have asked this of Amanda before I wrote this down, but I have to ask you, do you think with that younger group, how much of it, again, I don't know if it's a sore spot with you guys, but how much of it do you think South Park had to do with exposing you guys to
I
a
would
younger
say,
group? I mean,
yeah,
I
I
love
would
what they
say
did with Sail Away, but
no. Well, here's the thing, Randy. I would say I'm happy to admit that I'd say it's 1% our effort and 99% South Park influence.
hey, whatever gets them through the door, right? So,
Yeah, that's
did you guys
I
laugh at
I
that
usually
one when
put it
it
on
happened?
every night after the show. I usually that's one of the things I go to, you know, when I'm on the tour buses. If I get on there and South Park's on, or you know, Family Guy, it's some of the other. But yeah, but there's always great musical references between those two cartoons, and
Yeah.
yeah, the Cartman version to me, to my mind, is the definitive version, and then I'd put the original recording of the Styx, and then I put my version maybe third. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
how did Crash of the Crown do for you guys?
Well,
Has that
here's
been
here's a great
well?
thing that's happened. Billboard magazine now, they've very much allocated, there's such a myriad number of styles of music now, right? And um, there's a separate chart for rock albums. And Crash of the Crown made it within 3 weeks. It was number one on Billboard's rock album chart. We make a point of mentioning that every night because it really is that younger group of people, let's say, they're far more um, hungry to indulge in new things that the band have come out with that are concurrent with their experience with the band. And I think it's driven mainly by them, and usually the the faithful who've been there right from the beginning, they have to kind of be coerced into listening to something new. So remember,
Hmm.
vastly generalizing here, but once they dig it because we start to by the time a year is up, you start to see the latest T-shirts, for example, on people of our own age. Let's kind of call that, and they're holding up their signs for their, you know, Crash of the Crown itself. That song, it's unique in the Styx catalog in that there are three lead singers on it. It starts with JY, then it goes to Tommy, and it goes to myself, and it runs the gamut of you know those quick left turns that I love in Styx songs where they suddenly shift, the whole emotion shifts or the tempo shifts in the middle of the song, as great classic rock stuff can do if it's got that little bit of a progressive influence, and it makes for a great live um, performance as well, production wise. You know, you've got these
Hmm.
mood changes that are very abrupt and engaging for the audience.
How about the new album? What can you talk about that at all, and what kind of what can you tease us with news wise on that?
Well, I love the fact that we discussed, I don't know if you we were on before we started here, but if you just move your head a little bit to the left or the right,
Yep, right there.
exactly. There's the new album right there. So
Well, see that that question mark's always inside of my head for everything about life.
I
So,
really, you know what? It's funny as we've been talking, it's beginning to burn its way all the way through, you know, like a retina burn. Um, all that I'm at liberty, I think that's what they say, to divulge at this point is that the title of the album is Circling from Above.
Hmm,
Circling from Above. And it's yeah, I you know, you don't want to say too much about it. All I can say is
right.
we'll be rehearsing a couple of more songs from it today, this afternoon in our sound check. And if I can judge by our crew's reaction to it and the people that listened to it in the last few days, I'd say that there's a good percentage of people out there that are going to enjoy it. I've said it.
There you go. And you're not in trouble with anybody. I'd hate for you get slapped around by Tommy or somebody, if
You
I'm
know
talking
something?
to.
Well, here's the funny thing. He revealed the title of it just a couple of weeks ago, so I thought, oh, great. That gives me carte blanche to not have to like back up and go, hey, you told Randy that you're Patterson the title of the new album. I'm like, he already knew.
Well, there you go. There you
Yeah.
go. Hey, I didn't write this down, but I have a feeling you might have a good bit of some insight and opinion on this.
Okay.
A lot of your peers, a lot of a lot of others are selling their catalogs, and I get why. I mean, heirs don't necessarily want to mess with that. It could be a real headache to try to stay on top of copyright and image and all that
Yeah.
kind of thing. I get that.
Yeah.
So, but what I'm curious about, at the same time we're seeing all these catalogs selling, we're seeing AI come into play. And I have to think
Yeah.
somewhere all these people with all these ungodly amounts of money to buy these catalogs, they must have plans to kind of bash the catalog up against some AI there. What are your thoughts on all that? Where's this going?
That could be. I mean, I think I'm not going to be completely disparaging on it. I think there are going to be some great applications to AI. I think, in particularly, there are some very inventive visual effects, videos, etc., that have come out that are AI, and some of them have become old hat already, or old AI. And the so I don't want to be completely negative on it. I think there are really some going to be some great applications for it. I can think of a couple myself even. However, it's so far, it makes me kind of laugh when, for example, you hear the AI Beatles, for example. I'll use that one because most people have probably heard that one. You know, I'm not Paul McCartney, or I sound like Paul McCartney, whatever that song goes. Yeah, you don't sound anything like Paul McCartney. You have you have something of the inflection of the tone there, but it's that it's like like they say in Mr. Roboto, it just doesn't, too much technology. Yeah.
Yep.
Uh, it doesn't have the same soul and connection to you that just because you can jumble a few words together, etc. You don't you To really touch people's hearts. I still believe that humanity have a little bit of humanity left in them,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think it's a wonder. I think it's a neat trick, and I can think of a couple of good applications that could be put to.
Hmm.
I think eventually it will. But like any new technology or any new thing, it's like the industrial age or like these computers that we're speaking on right now. At first, they open all kinds of doors that people can't predict,
Right.
and some of them are going to be great, and some of them are going to be terrifying. So we'll see where that goes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sorry, but Randy, you asked about the catalog thing. Yeah, my observation so far has been more to do with the publishing rights to songs have been sold en masse by a lot of people, and that can be because the publishing world has gotten a lot more complicated because of the internet, and you need some pretty amazing accounting tools in order to scrape those fractions of a penny off the internet.
Right.
So there's that. As far as the catalogs, the actual master recordings, yeah, I think there'll be attempts to try to extend them, and some of them will be kind of like there's a couple of them you kind of go, that's not bad. But I've yet to listen to one of them twice, for example.
True. True.
I've yet to
Yeah.
put it on a second
You're not
time.
you're
Yeah.
not driving down the highway listening to it over and over again. Yeah.
Definitely not. It's kind of not yet anyway, and I highly doubt it'll ever get to that. I really
Yeah.
do, because so much of music it has to be a reflection of where the spirit of the world is right now. And
Hmm.
although a computer can so far interpret that to a certain degree, it still doesn't have the insights and subtleties double entendre, whatever you want to term it as, that a human being can muster. I could be wrong a week from now, but today I'm right. I'm going to go with that.
That's right. I just hope what they would do for you guys is put AI to work to be able to, to scrub the internet, scrub the airwaves, find out who's playing what,
Oh
and you
yeah,
guys get paid. Accuracy in accounting. That would novel thought. I realize that, but
that's no, that's kind of where that's what I was alluding to with the publishing world. Yes, they can
yeah,
quickly find out, who's playing that melody and those lyrics anywhere in the world. They can figure that out very quickly, detect it, and musicians might actually get paid.
that would be wonderful. I think
Yeah.
that should happen before anything else happens with, you know, remixing and doing all that
Yeah.
crap.
I,
Get
I'm
accountability.
I'm yeah, I'm all for it. And that's my completely unbiased opinion.
I just wish it would happen before the catalogs are sold to the big bucks people, you know? That would be
Yeah,
wonderful.
I see what you mean. Yeah, because songs can then be misrepresented or find themselves used in inappropriate places.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
and but sometimes I look at that. Okay, so this opens this up. I kind of look at that as like eventually going back to what you were saying about we were talking about why has the music lasted so long? Eventually, if the melodies get to people, I still think ultimately that's good. Even if the song's put in a bad spot, like for example, when
Hmm.
the melodies themselves, I hope would transcend any misapplication in the short term.
Yep. I agree. I wish it could work too, so that, like, for instance, when I edit this interview,
Yeah,
that there would be a way that I could grab, a piece of stick music to use to intro in, YouTube, because it's the venue. It
yeah,
it clicks, it pays you guys for those 15 seconds that I use or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
And then, I mean, YouTube could surely do that and not, flag me for using Sail Away or something,
Uh,
because I use 15 seconds of it. At the
yeah,
same time, it's reminding people as if they need to be reminded about Styx music. At least it sets the mood, it sets the tone,
right.
and it helps perpetuate the catalog and our
Yeah,
shows and
I
that kind of
agree
thing.
with you. I think
I wish they could do that.
I think they probably are. I'm going to guess they're probably working on that uh, because, as you say, it's actually to the benefit of the artist that the song gets properly represented. I mean, a forum
Yeah,
like this is like we're doing an interview on the radio of the past, where suddenly it's like the whole point of it was to get the guy to play the song.
exactly,
So,
exactly.
I think that it makes sense that they should start to quickly find exceptions to it because it's like, yeah, as long as there's some exchange of money, and obviously all these platforms have advertising, so they do have access to funds. They just have to
Right.
funnel it toward the artist. So
Yeah,
I fully agree with you. They should begin to separate, what is just exploitation of it for personal gain and what is actually part of the promotion of an artist.
agreed. So, to your own work, do you got any solo work planned anytime soon?
I have a solo record that's been ready now for a few years. And my reluctance to release it and the reluctance of the producer to release it is as yet is that we're still on a pace of playing 106 shows a year. And this year I'll do about 24 or 25 solo Gowan shows. And unless I have the full year, or at least 6 months, but it's better to have at least a year to really properly promote something new. I feel far more inclined to put out a new Styx record and be part of that than to put out another solo work at this time because I just don't have the time within the year to properly promote it. And particularly now with the internet the way it is, a new piece can just can come out and then just float away into oblivion so quickly, especially
Yep.
since, it's still of the classic rock ilk. It doesn't really have the tools to get played a lot, on radio or on television. It does on the internet, sure, but unless you're really actively promoting it and out there playing shows and reminding people about it day after day for a minimum of half a year, but really, like I said, a year, maybe even 2 years, it can just drift off into the ether and not be
Yeah.
heard of again. Whereas the new
You're
Styx
right there.
record, Circling from Above, we'll be pounding that at you every day.
Especially in September when you guys come to Knoxville, correct?
Yes,
All right.
especially then.
So,
Especially then. We're on the summer tour though, Randy. We're going to play Grand Illusion in its entirety because we did that earlier this year in Las Vegas at our residency, and it went over you'd expect. It went over fantastic. So we'll do that. We'll do a good series of hits and maybe a song from Circling from Above as people begin to hold their signs up and say,
well, hopefully I can
we
catch
give you
one of those.
clearance. We give you clearance to play something new. Okay.
Hopefully I can catch one of those summer shows too before you come
Please
to
do.
Knoxville. But
Yeah.
well, Lawrence, I sure appreciate you taking the time from your rest before the show tonight to
Yeah.
speak with me, and I hope I can bump elbows with you at least in Knoxville this fall when you
We'll
come
do it.
through. Yeah, that'd be the safe social
Right,
distancing.
the safe hello.
That's right.
I'm back to
And,
the fist. I'm back to the fist bump now.
That's
Yeah.
right. But I don't think we'd be contagious that way now. So
I've worn out too many elbows from jackets for after we came back, and then now we're down to the fist bump.
I was going to ask you, what part of Canada are you from?
Toronto.
Oh, okay.
I was born in Scotland, in Glasgow, Scotland, but I grew up in Toronto, and Toronto is my home.
I don't think I mentioned this the last time you and I talked about 7 or 8 years ago,
Yeah.
but I used to work for the Great Nortel up there. And
Really?
yeah,
Wow.
I had 20 years with them. I had some meetings in Toronto, there in Brampton, and
Yeah, that's right.
I miss it. I miss that company, and it's
Nortel,
sad that it went
yeah.
away. But
It did, yeah. But yeah, it's that's great. So you have a connection to Canada. That's fantastic.
That's right. When I interviewed Gordon Lightfoot a few years ago before he died,
Wow.
I mentioned that to him, and he was like, "Yeah, he mentioned the name. I can't remember who it was, but one of our
Right.
executives from there. That he said, "Yeah, I live in the same neighborhood as him." I said,
Yeah.
"Seriously? Wow."
Yeah.
So Nortel was it for Canada as far as technology goes. We
Yeah,
dated
it
back
was.
to Alexander Graham Bell, right?
That's right. That's yeah. Yep, Signal Hill.
That's right.
That's where that all began. Now we're doing this.
Yes, we definitely have to do it. Well, hey, man, I hope to see you in September, if not before, and be able to stay in with you.
You do the same, and I'll be able to see you.
Take care.
Cheers.